Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a lot to cover because, well, today marks the first official games of EuroBasket 2025. That has officially tipped off. Actually, Zach Krejci just finished up a game, and we've got Kristaps Porzingis playing very soon today, so that's all starting today. And we've been previewing EuroBasket for quite some time now on this channel, and I don't want to get too much into it right now, but we're going to preview the matchups for today and then also, what to expect in the coming weeks with that, obviously with group play and then the actual tournament beginning. So from there, we're going to shift to ESPN's recent predictions that place the Atlanta Hawks among the teams most likely to take a leap next season. They're near the top of that list, so we're going to break that down and talk about why they think that, also the other teams that are around them and how the Hawks can compare to those teams. After that, we're going to react to Robert Horry. He made some comments on Atlanta star Trae Young and how the Hawks should be building around Trae. And it's kind of what they've been doing this offseason, but we're going to talk about his comments and what the Hawks can do to potentially fulfill what Horry is suggesting. So finally, we're going to take a look at Max Strus. He just suffered an injury. He just got some surgery done, and that's going to keep him sidelined for a very long time, obviously of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And there's already been a whole lot of injuries going on in the Eastern Conference, and this is certainly one that is notable. It's not as a major of an injury like the ones that we have seen to stars like Tatum and Halliburton, but nonetheless, it is still an important piece to a team that is probably going to be at the top of the East next season. So very important. We're going to break it all down and what it means for Atlanta in particular. So without further ado, let's waste no time and go ahead and get into it and talk about how EuroBasket begins today. So over the next few weeks, basketball fans are going to have their eyes on EuroBasket, the FIBA tournament that is held every 4 years to crown Europe's best national team. This year, the Hawks are going to have 3 players competing. They were originally supposed to have 5. They were supposed to have Nikola Jurisic, the guy they recently signed on that standard contract, the former second-round pick, but he was not on the official roster for his country. And then also they were supposed to have Eli Njai, the undrafted rookie that they got out of Real Madrid. He suffered an injury, so he pulled his name out of EuroBasket, and so we're not going to be watching him suit up. But we've got 3 Hawks in it. It's Zach Langley, last year's number 1 overall pick. He's suiting up for France. Kristaps Porzingis, the newly acquired big man. He played for the Boston Celtics most previously, but he's suiting up for Latvia, and Latvia is actually hosting EuroBasket, so definitely a little bit of an advantage for KP there, and hopefully he can win a title with Latvia, and then bring back so much winning experience to Atlanta in his first season. Also, Zach Krejci, the standout role player, is playing for the Czech Republic. So those are the 3 Hawks that we are going to have in this tournament that's going to be going on over the next several weeks. But France is the team that really enters this tournament with the most momentum. I mean, they've got plenty of it. And their exhibitions, the preliminary exhibitions that we've been covering on this channel for, since they have begun, France went 5-0 in those exhibitions leading up to the event. So definitely the standout team. While, big names like Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert are not suiting up, the French roster does remain a defensive powerhouse, and it's got a very good team and probably the best team that's there. That was obviously shown through their 5-0 record. But that team it's highlighted by Zachary Rizichet, but they've also got Bilal Coulibaly, who he played with Wemby, before coming into the NBA. Also, Alex Sarr. Hawks fans know Alex Sarr good and well. He, refused to work out for the Atlanta Hawks. He was projected to be 1 or 2. He ended up going 2 after the Hawks picked Zachary Rizichet. But nonetheless, Rizichet and Sarr are forever linked, and it's going to be really fun watching them play together. I think those 2 players have games that could complement each other very well, and it could lead France to a EuroBasket title. And also Guerschon Yabusele, who was a standout in last year's Olympics. I know there's been we've been looking for stuff to entertain us this offseason, and obviously with Atlanta making several moves, that certainly kept us entertained. And now with EuroBasket beginning, Hawks fans have no shortage of content to keep up with. But last offseason, there wasn't a whole lot going on in the offseason in general, but the Olympics came around, and that's what really entertained everyone. So this year we've got EuroBasket, but relating that to Yabusele, he was a standout for France in those Olympics. leading them to, pretty deep into the tournament. And he also had that poster dunk on LeBron James. So that was just very interesting. He's a fun player. And so France has a really fun squad, and it's going to be fun keeping up with them over the next few weeks because Hawks fans are going to need to watch them closely to see how, their former number one pick plays. For all Hawks fans, eyes are going to be on Zach Langley. The 19-year-old averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds across those 4 warm-up games that he played in the EuroBasket exhibitions. But, beyond the numbers, and we've talked about this on the channel before, what stood out most for Langley was just his defensive versatility. He always looked like the best defender on the court, and there's a lot of very good defenders on that team. He guarded multiple positions. He showed his ability to defend guards, but they've also had him playing in the post a good bit, so he's been defending these bigger players. He's been using his length to disrupt passing lanes, and he's just continued to show why he's projected to be a cornerstone for Atlanta entering a second NBA season, where he's going to play a very important role. Zach knows his role, but he's also going to stand out in that. But, very excited for France, and it's going to be super fun keeping up with them. Switching to Latvia. So, like I said, Latvia is hosting EuroBasket. So, when they have the championship, the final few games, it's going to be in Latvia. Kristaps Porzingis is once again going to carry the scoring load, and that's something that Atlanta's new big man can certainly do. Latvia didn't do so well in their exhibition contest. They went 2-3. But they did have that highlight win, the highlight statement win over Luka Doncic in Slovenia. They beat them pretty good over the exhibition games. Porzingis averaged 15 points a game, but he was used as the offensive hub. Whether it was in pick and pops or post ups against mismatches, or even some short roll playmaking, Latvia made him the focal point, which is obviously it's a smart thing to do considering in most of these games he's going to be the best player on the floor. Obviously not when they go against teams like Serbia, because Nikola Jokic or Greece, who has Giannis Antetokounmpo, but nonetheless this is a very skilled big man whose skill set really does thrive overseas. And not like it doesn't thrive in the NBA, but this is a skill set that's made for this EuroBasket. And like I said, Latvia is one of the 4 host countries for this event, and so they're going to have that added motivation of playing in front of their home fans. That certainly the fans overseas certainly is an added element. Home court is a little different over there. So that'll be super interesting to watch, just seeing how KP plays in front of a wild crowd like that. And then, lastly, there's Vít Krejci. Y'all know how I feel about Vít. Extremely underrated role player, shot 43% from deep for the Hawks last season while also contributing 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. He joins Czech Republic in Group C, the same group as Latvia. So Vít and KP are going to go head-to-head, and that's going to be super fun to watch, and we'll see how they interact pre- and post-game because, they're about to be teammates. But for right now, they are enemies. Czech struggled early in the exhibitions, dropping their first 4 contests, but then they ended up rebounding with 2 wins over Georgia. Vít Krejci's best performance came in that second matchup against Georgia, and we actually broke that down here. He scored 18 points and dished out 5 assists, just impacting the game in several ways. He was active on the boards as well, and also defensively, but he was knocking down threes and just looking like a real good facilitator. And, now with the injury to Thomas Satoransky, the former NBA player, Vít is going to be the focal point of that team. So this is a real good opportunity for Vít Krejci to really make a name for himself and give him some added hype going into this upcoming season. The opportunity is seriously there for him. The tournament format, and we're breaking all of EuroBasket down for you right here because, while Vít's team has already played today at the time of this recording, there's a lot to keep up with, pretty much. But 24 teams, it's going to be divided into 4 groups of 6. And like we said, Group C is the one that features Vít and KP. Each team is going to play everyone in their group once. The top 16 teams advance to a single elimination bracket, culminating in the gold medal game on September 14th. So that is, relatively soon. This is a pretty short process, but it does go on for a few weeks. And so something to keep us entertained before training camp, because training camp is not long after that. Like I said, Vít Krejci played earlier today. And also Kristaps Porzingis is going to begin play today at 11 a.m. Eastern. So shortly after this video is uploaded, KP is going to play. So be sure to tune into that. I'll be posting the links on my Twitter for access for you guys to watch it. So certainly be on that. It's Langley ATL on Twitter. But Latvia faces Turkey at 11 a.m., so be sure to tune into that. And, Riza and France begin their campaign on on Thursday against Belgium, so be tuned in for that as well. So it's going to be a busy 2.5 weeks for Hawks fans following along, but really the driest part of the offseason's over because we have this, and then we have training camp, and then we pretty much have the preseason and then the season. So it's all here. It's all going to be super fun to cover. I can't wait to get it started. So Atlanta's going to have these Hawks players are going to have a real opportunity to showcase their talents on the international stage. And so now let's pivot from EuroBasket to the NBA and talk about how the Hawks have been making headlines for their summer moves. And ESPN is predicting that they are going to be the number one team to take a leap. They're tied with another team. We're going to talk about that in a second. Atlanta isn't often the team that gets praised league-wide for their offseason, and it's a bit concerning, honestly, having all of this praise towards us and all these expectations. It's certainly not something we're used to, but this offseason was seriously different. The front office made some bold moves, and as a result, national analysts have begun to take notice, and for good reason. It started with the blockbuster three-team trade that brought in the guy we just talked about, Kristaps Porzingis. It brought him to Atlanta. Then in free agency, the Hawks landed one of the top guards on the market, in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, certainly the best guard defender on the market. They signed him to a 4-year, $62 million deal. Shortly after, they signed sharpshooter Luke Kennard that, Trae had, a big say in bringing into Atlanta because Trae's always at his best with shooters on the wing. So he's locked up on a 1-year, $11 million contract. All of those moves instantly upgraded the team's spacing, and Porzingis and Alexander-Walker certainly help with the defense inside and out. But the move that really stunned the league came on draft night, and probably the best move of the offseason. After sending the number 22 pick to Brooklyn in the Porzingis trade, the Hawks were left with the 13th pick, and instead of making that selection there, they traded back with the New Orleans Pelicans, dropping to 23 while picking up their unprotected 2026 first-round pick, which is going to be the more favorable between either New Orleans or Milwaukee. So if either of those team falters, the pick could easily land in the top 5, just a very valuable asset for the Hawks. You all know what we did this offseason, so there's no real point in breaking it down in too much detail, but, it was just an A-plus offseason, and, the strategic patience and asset management has put Atlanta into a terrific long-term position while also improving the roster in the short term. I mean, the flexibility that these 1-year deals provide, whether, the Atlanta has great success and wants to extend them, cool. If they don't, then, there's so much financial flexibility for next offseason and the offseason after that. And, with the Trae Young situation, you never know what's going to happen. So, according to that recent ESPN panel, the Hawks are viewed as one of the teams that's most likely to take a leap this season. So, putting them in some pretty high qualities, tied with the San Antonio Spurs for that honor. So the Spurs have gotten praise for the young core that they have built, and Atlanta just being right there with them is a very good sign. The comparison is fitting. Atlanta and San Antonio have been linked, ever since that initial DeJounte Murray trade that sent Murray to Atlanta, and both franchises are really seen as young teams with extremely bright futures. So it's just good to see that Atlanta's in that conversation, because the Spurs certainly have had the media around them for quite some time. Atlanta really hasn't, but the Hawks aren't just aiming for playoff contention. With the Eastern Conference wide open, they are putting themselves in position to compete for much more, and I can't wait for the season to get started. We're right here. We don't got that much longer to go. So, speaking of Atlanta's future, let's talk about the face of the franchise, Trae Young. The Hawks' decision to not immediately offer Trae that $229 million extension this summer has raised eyebrows across the league. Ever since then, we've gotten mixed reporting, but now it looks pretty certain that Atlanta's not going to extend him this offseason, that they're probably holding out to just see how he performs with this new talented roster. But one of the most vocal critics of that choice in recent days has been Robert Horry. I know y'all remember Robert Horry, the NBA champion and someone who knows what it takes to build around stars. Horry compared Young's situation to Allen Iverson's time with the Philadelphia 76ers. His message was simple. If Atlanta wants to maximize Trae's potential, they need to fully embrace him as the centerpiece, the way Philly once did with Iverson. Build the roster entirely around his strengths, cover the weaknesses with complementary players, and give him the keys to the franchise now. This sounds very similar to something that Atlanta did this offseason. However, this is the first offseason they've really bought into that. And it's weird that, it's also the offseason where they're electing to not extend him. So certainly interesting there. But, Trae's resume speaks for itself. Since entering the league, he's averaged over 25 points per game. That's a scoring clip higher than Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, and even Nikola Jokic over that span. He's already led the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals, something the franchise has only achieved once in the previous 50 years. So certainly a big accomplishment. And as Horry pointed out, Trae continues to be one of the most polarizing stars in the NBA. I mean, there's no doubt that people know Trae's a very skilled offensive player, but he gets a lot of criticism for his defense, often overlooking his offensive brilliance and leadership that especially has taken a leap in the recent seasons. So whether or not you agree with Horry, his comments highlight an important reality. Atlanta's success is ultimately going to hinge on how they build around Young. Now, with Porzingis and Alexander Walker and Kennard now in place, and already the moves that they made in previous off seasons, acquiring Dyson Daniels, drafting Zachary Risache, giving Jalen Johnson a very important role in the starting lineup. It's clear that they are focused on building around Trae's strengths and weaknesses, but it took them a really long time, and so now hopefully it can all come together now that we are starting to do it. So the front office has taken meaningful steps, and the question is whether they will continue to double down and give Trae everything he needs to contend, just based off of the success of this upcoming season. We won't know until we see them suit up, which is going to be on October 22nd against the Toronto Raptors. So finally, let's close with some news out of Cleveland and how it could relate to the Hawks. So I wrote an article about this just yesterday, and I seriously wanted to talk about it again because I don't think people realize the magnitude of what this entails. So Cavaliers forward Max Strus recently, underwent surgery to repair a Jones fracture in his left foot. He's expected to miss 3 to 4 months, probably closer to 4 months, which is likely going to keep him out until late December, probably around Christmas. This is a significant blow to Cleveland, but not just to any team specifically when they play the Atlanta Hawks. The Cavs are already looking to bounce back. After last year's disappointing second-round playoff exit where they fell to Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers, Strus was a vital starter for them. As Hawks fans know, DeAndre Hunter is best off the bench, and then they traded for him at the deadline, and they still kept him off the bench in that role. Strus was their guy. He provides spacing, toughness, and underrated playmaking, to a team that seriously was one of the best in the East last season. Well, they were the best in the East last season until the postseason came around. But here's the interesting thing. In 4 games against the Hawks as a member of the Cavaliers, Strus averaged 11.5 points, 4.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 1.3 steals, while Cleveland actually went 4-0 in those contests. So the Hawks did, they got a couple games on the Cavs last season, but all the ones that Strus played were the ones that Cleveland won, it's not really a coincidence. He plays really well against the Hawks. It's on decent shooting splits. And now without him, the Cavs are going to be forced to shuffle their rotation, and Atlanta is seriously going to take advantage of that when they play them. For Atlanta, the timing is very favorable, so they play Cleveland 4 times this upcoming season, twice in November, and so Strus is going to be out for both of those. Once is on November 2nd, and then again on the 28th. And the 28th game the game on the 28th is going to be during NBA Cup group play, so very important for standings there. Both matchups are going to come before Strus is expected to return, but you never know. These injury timelines are very inconsistent nowadays. So with Boston's Jason Tatum and Indiana's Tyrese Halliburton already sidelined for the season, and now Strus out for months, the Eastern Conference is more open than ever, and I'm not trying to compare the Strus injury to the injuries of the magnitude of the ones of Halliburton and Tatum, but it's an important role player on one of the best teams in the East, and so you got to take anything you can get, and obviously you never want to celebrate injuries, but opportunity is here. Atlanta, with its revamped roster and depth, has a golden opportunity to seize momentum, especially early in the year. The schedule is certainly more difficult for the Hawks in the early part of the season, so we'll see how they handle that. It gets easier later, so if they can, have a very successful start to the season, we're going to be set up for a good bit of success, upcoming in that season. So, fans should circle these November dates because they could be early indicators of how this new look Hawks team stacks against Eastern contenders. I can't wait to see all of this come to light. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Hawks Latest. So we've got EuroBasket action going ahead right now. So keep your eye on that. And also big national media respect heading the Hawks way. Robert Horry weighing in on Trae Young's future with the Atlanta Hawks and what they should do to build around him. And of course, some important news out of Cleveland that could tilt the Eastern Conference landscape, especially in the early months of the season. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update here on Hawks Latest. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But once again, my name is Zach Langley. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.